Cold Rice Media.
But with my wife, like, man, she's the reason why I did it. You know, she's the reason why I did it. I could never forget that. It's just like you can't forget where you come from. You can't burn bridges with the people that have got you to where you're at. Like that's one person that honestly, not just because she's my wife, like we're like friends, you know, like we're like we have these deep conversations. We like love the interest in music. Like I hate to say it, but I'm a romantic type. Like I'm always trying to find a way for her to fall in love with me every single day, you know? But the thing is like she's the first person I could honestly say that was like, it doesn't matter what I'm gonna do, she thinks I'm great,
Mhm.
you know? Like when I started doing my designs, she wasn't like a first person to be like, "Well, I would put this over there. I wouldn't use that shirt." Like all of a sudden, everybody's designers now that I come around. They're always like, "Oh, you should do this. You should do that." And I'm like, she doesn't. She's just like, create, and I got you. Create, I
Mhm.
got you. And like, I've always been told like you can't play all the parts in a band, right? If you're the lead singer, if you're the drummer, you can't play all of them. You'd be exhausted. So what I've done is I found a balance in including her in sharing my story, but trying to share hers too, because my wife's a Cancer and she's an introvert, and you know that.
What do you mean by she's a Cancer? What do you mean by that? Just like, does she literally have something, or is it
No, no,
is she just
her
kinda
zodiac
like that
her
person?
her zodiac is a Cancer. You know what I'm saying? And
Dang.
so And so she, you know, she's a Cancer, she's Cambodian, you know what I'm saying? So there's like this persona or like stereotyping of certain people, right? And
Mhm,
what I'm
mhm,
trying to do is show them that no, it's not like that. You know, the reason why she doesn't talk to you is because she's not comfortable. But once she's comfortable with you, you will see more of a explosive person that's more
yeah.
exciting and outgoing. And with me, it's like I could be friends with anybody. We'll go to grocery store and the guy wants to sell me something. My wife's done grocery shop. She's like, dude, you did not fucking come in, you know? And I just wanted to show her that there's like a light to her, you know,
Mhm,
she just needs
mhm,
to believe it. And so, bro, like when it comes to the brand itself, she never fails like to impress me. Like she's the one that gets the people that are consistently buying every single drop that I come out with, regardless of what it is, you know. And at the end of the day, she doesn't make money off of it. She's like, no,
mhm,
here, this is your brand, here's your money. And I'm like, no, it's ours. And she's like, no, it's okay, you know. She doesn't want nothing from me. It's like that relationship that we have. It's like we don't need anything from each other. We just need to express ourselves more. And that whole video content creating and stuff like that, that's her. You know what I'm saying? Like
mhm.
that's her saying, "Hey, like I see these people eating all these mukbangs and these videos. They look cool." And I'd be like, "Why can't you do it?" She's like, no. What if I'm not?" I'm like, "Why not? I got the stuff
Yeah,
in the house. Let's try this. What if people
yeah.
do?" And it's
I
actually
mean,
worked out, bro.
so many people are afraid to even just get in front. I mean, there's as a child, you had these aspirations. Many kids have these
Hmm.
aspirations. Like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be in front of the camera, I want to be an actress and everything. But then throughout the years, like they get broken down, but they still have that light.
Hmm.
And somebody asked me recently, it's like, why even do a pod, right? It's like,
Hmm.
why do the pod? And it's like, what do you think you got to say? And he literally told me this. We
Damn.
was at a get together. It's like, why do you think people care what you got to say? And it's a fair question. It's just
Hmm.
like, why should y'all even care about me when I make these little videos?
Hmm.
When I post on our IG and everything like that, I direct it as if like after I put it out there, I'm kind of sitting here like, why the hell do even anyone want to look at this, click on it, and listen to what I'm going through in my personal life?
Hmm.
Um, and then I have this feeling of just wanting to pull it back, and that's constantly been just the thing with me. But then a lot of people just start feeling like that about themselves, and to answer that
Hmm.
person that had asked me that, it's like, why even you? It's just, well, because everybody really has that story.
Hmm.
Everybody should be able to get on the mic, maybe like an episode or two and everything like that, and let themselves out there. everybody's got such a dope story, period. It doesn't matter what kind of struggles or whatever. And if you had a perfection story, it might be boring to you, but it might also trigger somebody else to actually
Yeah,
get on the mic to tell theirs.
like, it is that, because we catch ourselves it sucks, but we catch ourselves on our phone on a daily, and
Mhm,
it intrigues us what other people are going through because it's not gonna hurt us, like, our feelings aren't getting hurt, nobody's gonna say nothing, but really,
mhm,
like, there's times where I watch shows and I'm like, "Man, that guy looks like my brother." Oh,
mhm,
man, these 2
mhm.
guys that are drinking and talk like, sips and drinks and stuff like that, I'm like, "We do that
Yeah,
every weekend." You know what I'm saying? Like, let's take away the alcohol, let's take away the weed, let's take away the medicines. Now let's sit there and talk. Nobody could do it. Nobody could do it because it's uncomfortable. It's when's the last time you went in an elevator and when's the last time you went in an elevator, like, and sat there and talked to somebody?
I do it all the time, bro. I'm
Okay,
the wrong
I
person to
do.
ask. I'm just
Okay,
like
I'm the
you
wrong
too.
person.
I'm
But
exactly
but
like you. My wife gets on me and she's like, "Man, you are talking to everyone right now."
yeah, but you know how it's weird that you could go in an elevator and everybody's looking at their phone and they don't even wanna even just say hi?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
like, that's another friendship that you could have built, but you closed it. You already closed it because you just didn't even wanna think about, like, what does that person have to offer or what's their you know? I don't know.
yeah.
That's how
I
I
mean, a
look
lot
at
of
it.
it it's like you said, like when everybody's on their phones, and that's just the devil of it all, right? Just like
Mhm,
living vicariously, mentally, and like dreams wise to actually go flip through other people's lives, right?
mhm,
And that's also the whole thing as far as like being now behind the camera and
mhm.
conveying your life. It's also another way to actually at least have an outlet for your mental health, and that's a
Yeah,
huge thing. It's a troublesome thing to be dealing with, like, just mental health. And the reason why Stripped was even started as a series
mhm,
was because I had a conversation a few days back. I think it was a little over a week ago with Rita from Healing Out Loud, and our conversation itself has just started triggering everything to me to where it's like, this is so necessary to have
yeah,
conversation. Period.
exactly.
Conversation, period. If there's someone that's introverted and if you have somebody else on the other side that is kind of like you and myself, to where it's just we feel very comfortable just having the conversation and leading it and guiding it, or even just allowing to talk. That person then comes out and there's this additional level of just like it's on video and people are not going to hear me. But it's just
Mhm,
the fact that it's like, you got to make a decision for yourself. It's like, you know what? I'm not really going to care because that's real stuff. That's real me. So why should you feel a certain way about that? Why should you be
yeah,
embarrassed to be about yourself?
yeah,
And
and
then
that's
it could
that's why oh, good.
eventually, or
Yeah,
real quick to finish my point and I'll let you go. That could eventually then bring that next person that is actually scrolling through or clicking through and be like, yo, that's strong. That's really strong. There's a lot of, like, especially with her or him, that decided to be like, you know what? I'm gonna just be this person. I'm gonna be vulnerable. I'm gonna let it all out. And then it creates that chain reaction.
yeah. No, and like I said, it's like every day we see the same people sometimes throughout our days. Like, like see our coworkers that we see every day, and then we see our family members that we see every day, and
Mhm.
that's all good. But what's crazy is like there's so much out there. There's so much conversations that we're not having. Like I used to always be a fan of like Anthony Bourdain and just how he just goes to places,
Another
has these
troubled soul.
random yeah, have this random conversations, and he can never regret nothing because he's just living for that, you know? And I
Mhm.
wanna be like that.
Mhm.
I want to get my stuff out there. I don't want just to be locally known. I wanna be able to go to, like, California, Vegas, and be like, "Hey, I seen your stuff," or I seen you on whatever, and then let's have a conversation, like, it's
Mhm.
crazy because, what's his name that you had on here, the comedian,
Bong.
Bone
Bong
Bone?
Robbie. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Hey, shout out to the big homie, bro, because I didn't know him either. I literally sent him a message, say, "Hey, bro, this is my brand. Let me throw you a shirt. and if it so happens it makes it on one of your episodes, that'd be great." And the bro was like, "Got you." Boom, like,
No,
just
he's
like
dope, man.
that. Yeah,
He's
and
dope.
what was crazy is he didn't question, like, "Are you gonna pay me?" What like, he literally was like, "Yeah, I got you." And what was crazy is from him posting that, there was other people that messaged me say, "Hey," like, the bro that has Losto Bro, he has a brand out there in Vegas. He's like, "Hey, bro,
Mhm,
I
mhm.
heard you're Ilocano, I'm Ilocano, like, let's collab."
How
Like,
do you feel about the just I think you had mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I've
mhm,
actually talked to a couple other,
mhm,
designers and
mhm,
apparel folks that to where even the closest one times don't show up for you. I mean, I had a very close and I have a close friend that was just like, "Yo,
mhm,
what's weird about it is just that everybody showed, there's a lot of people showed. There was big numbers
mhm,
or they showed up for me
mhm.
and hearing that. But when I take a look around the crowd to see more familiar faces, cats don't show up, right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I think for you and at the pop-up, you felt like, "Oh, okay, people did show up for me." But
Mhm. Yeah.
with how
I
does
think
that affect a designer like yourself, like a clothing brand, with your brand out there, where even the close ones sometimes they ain't there?
yeah. I feel like sometimes it's just like, when you work in customer like, in sales, right? When you go to a person and they say, "Nah, that's not for me," you gotta respect it, right? And when it's like a random stranger, you don't take it to heart. But imagine you're, like, trying to sell something that makes you money for your family, and these so-called, like,
Mhm.
closest people to you don't even wanna drop a dime, and they don't wanna spend
Yeah.
$30 on your hoodie because that's too expensive in their end, but they're wearing Gucci, and they went to Jack in a Box and just dropped that $30 easily when they shouldn't when they can make stuff at home.
Like,
Like
how do you compete with the Temus and the Sheins? And you got, like, full outfits for, like, $12, you know? They got, like, shirt and pants, $12, China.
yeah.
The it might not be the best made, the
Mhm.
actual and I've seen it around. I mean, like, I've ordered from there just to try to see what it looks like. It's halfway decent. And in this, economy nowadays, a lot of people are skipping corners. So how do you then compete with that?
It's crazy because like, the people that sell on Shein, Temu, bro, from all the research that I have done, man, if I wanted to get into that game, hella easy, bro, because
Right.
you can find their manufacturers now, you can find the exact same shirt, and you could scale it on Amazon and be like, just put, like, Blackheart as the user and just sell it cheaper, like what's that called, American Gangster, how he had Blue Magic, and it was, like, the
Mhm.
same, but just cheaper, I could do that, but what it is that I can't I can't share my story through that, you know what I'm saying? Because like, those ones are already pre-made, that was somebody else that created that stuff, and the only way for me to, like, really compete with them is just know that, my time will come, like, my profit will
Mhm.
come later, you know what I'm saying? Just as long as like, my stuff is out there, I'm already winning, like, I hate to say it, but it's like, I went to a graduation, I saw this little kid wearing my shirt, I don't even know who the kid is, but to see amongst the whole crowd and then
Yeah,
see
yeah.
my shirt
It
in there,
popped out.
that's something that you can't really pay for, you know? Maybe if I go find his mom, she might know somebody that I know, you know? But
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be able to scale to where Temu and all that stuff is, but what I could try to do is just be an artist, stay true to myself, understand
Mhm.
that nothing is personal. Just because they don't buy your stuff doesn't mean they don't like you, that they don't wanna support you. What it is, it's just not meant for them, you know? It's weird because I see some people, they didn't buy my first stuff, but now they're hopping on because they saw somebody else purchased it or
Yeah,
somebody
that's
else is
just
right. It's weird how that works,
that's the
right?
weird part, right? That is the weird part.
Yeah.
They don't mess with you until somebody else messes with you.
Yeah,
That's,
but
and I told this story also in another pod. It's like there was this rapper that, that I was in a sales business, car sales business,
mhm,
and he came through late at night, bought a couple
mhm,
cars for his niece, and I
yeah,
asked him, I was like, you're big time. You're big
mhm,
time now. It's like a lot of cats are messing with you and everything. But then, like, how come you're not it's like, why aren't you putting more Seattle lights on? And he's just like, "Man, you know what? Seattle don't mess with you until somebody else mess with you." And that's kinda
yeah,
just like how the Northwest is. And
yeah,
then he goes, "Man, I started going to Cali, I started going to Atlanta, I started going"
Mhm.
other places, and as soon as I get there, there's like, "Hey, I like your music." They start messing with me at that point, and then once Seattle found out, then all of a sudden, here I am.
It's
And so that's
yeah.
exactly, at least on your end, it's such a weird dynamic, man.
Yeah, I don't like, like the homie from Neck of the Hood said, like, I don't even pay attention to that, like, because you know
Yeah.
what's crazy is everybody wants to be the cool guy. Everybody wants to be the cool guy. That's how Seattle has, like, you don't wear loud shoes to not be cool, you know, you don't wear the most expensive stuff to be cool. But what it is like, what like, how many genuine people do you have in your circle? Because after a while, everybody starts disappearing. I don't wanna be the guy that's just like, "Fuck, if I died, nobody shows up to my funeral."
Mhm.
Like, I just want somebody to say, "Hey, he's a good ass man." So
Yeah.
if I set my bar like this and say, "I just wanna be a good man," I don't think there's gonna be anything that's gonna let me down. It's like, I'm trying to be that person that's just showing love because I know how it feels when I see hatred. You know, it's easy
Mhm.
to hate on somebody, bro, but it's really hard to just be like, "Imma cheer for you." Like, I wanna be the biggest cheerleader for everybody else that didn't have a fan base, you know what I'm saying? And show them how it really feels to be loved, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a like with you, man, it's a rarity. You and I are, I think, in my opinion, are one-offs in that area.
Mm,
Before we move forward, I
yeah.
do I was just thinking in my head, I think I said Paul from Neck of the Hood. It's like, it's Peter Herman. I don't wanna
Mhm.
disrespect in any way. I was like, "Paul," I was just talking to the cat. But yeah, shout out to Peter. Um, what okay, so you brought up Seattle.
Mhm.
I lived in Seattle for 39 years,
Yeah,
and now I'm
yeah,
over here. I'm in the South,
yeah,
living life it as it is, and it's, how everybody talks about, people talk about, like, it's greener. The grass is
yeah.
greener. Um, Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Um, you mentioned something about, like, how Seattle is and just like how T-Town is. I mean, you've spent majority of your life in Seattle. How you feeling about the town? Just
Seattle has a lot of love. It's just when you're all in the same category, it's kinda hard. I don't know, I feel like you should know better because my brother, he breakdanced and there was ABC, there's Boss Crew, there was so many crews out there. But did you guys hate each other or you guys just kinda was like you guys were all friends? Like
well, you gotta understand, like, when Boss started,
mhm,
we was, in our opinion, the first true crew
mhm,
organically made in that next phase of b-boying in the '90s,
yeah,
like, everybody else was in the midst of banging.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody was in a gang, or you were square, or you're an athlete
yeah,
or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that. So when we came together, we were bred through those times.
yeah,
So, although we wanted an alternative option in our lives, there was still that G in us, and it
yeah,
was hard
yeah,
to shake. So there
yeah,
was no, like, we weren't looking to, but the dance itself was, it was supposed to be the dance. There's no, like, the hatred would
yeah,
end up in dance. That's what it's supposed to be. But
exactly.
there really was no true hatred. There was rivalry to
Yeah,
the ones that was close. The only part that was where we got upset or anything like that is if they were, trying to come through our space, because we did have Jefferson, and that was our joint.
yeah, yeah,
And there
yeah,
was a point to where it was super crowded, and we was just like, "Who are these fools that's all of a sudden out here?" But
yeah,
and we would take a huge step back and be like, "But we created this. We kinda created this monster at the same time." So it was that's it. But no, like, your question was like, did we hate anyone? Hate? It was like, there really was no hatred. There was just, you just gotta beat us.
yeah,
And if you're
yeah,
talking crazy, you better come through, and
yeah,
because you're it's not gonna be like that, but at that level. But, the reason why I asked for that, we can always go back, and like you had said, it's like going back in the days, Red Apple, freaking just all the gizzards at the Shell gas station, and it's like all the Filipinos living up and down on the hill.
mhm,
That was fam. That was deep rooted fam. Like, like you said,
yeah,
Delights and over at E-Nice back then, right? We
yeah,
can call that out. But I mean, there's a reason why I'm no longer in Washington State anymore, at least in the Seattle area, just because it's changed quite a bit. Not just the hood itself, not just, a
mhm,
lot of the gentrification pushing it out. Now everybody's in either Puyallup, Auburn, Kent, now that's your hood. You like T-Town, Spanaway. That used to be the
yeah,
boonies back then, but then now that's home.
yeah,
Um, And but then that also, in my opinion, there was again during COVID, you start realizing how far people really were because it just wasn't as close. You didn't really have. There was still a speckling of people that was still in on the hill, on MLK, but just the property values was just, unless you had really, pretty good pockets during that time, or if you're actually paid off the house, or if you got parents that had actually paid off the house, it was hard to even stay on in those areas. So that's
Yeah,
why I felt it changed quite a bit. We all still came together, but we were all kind of just in disparate areas at that point. And
yeah.
that's why I asked you was like, nowadays that you're there, is it still like the foundation that we created from C-Town, from Southside? How does that feel now? And it's just especially now as a parent,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just how is the social aspect of things affecting you over there?
Everything actually got better. Like I feel like like what you said, like, there used to be areas where it was just like that's the hood,
Mhm,
but we grew up there, but now people have choices. There's people that go out to Renton, they go to Kent, Puyallup, whatever, and they decide like, yeah,
mhm,
that was our parents. Our parents, they didn't believe in gangs and all that stuff. But my dad was always like, if there's five of you with a shave head, you're a gang. You know what I'm saying? I was like, "What? That's not true. What if that was just a haircut?" But I mean, like, back then, it's like we didn't have a choice to live or anything, but, like, I feel like our generation or, like, even your generation, we know better now. We know that we could raise them there in hopes that they don't, fall into that crowd,
mhm,
or we could kinda move them out, but honestly, bro, even the hood is starting to come out to those so-called safe areas too. What it is
mhm,
being present in your kid's life. If you're present and you put them in certain things that is always keeping them occupied, there's
mhm.
no there's no way they can really get into that
But
because
like they say, what it's just an idle mind is a devil's playground, and this you got to keep it occupied, especially if your brain's still forming. You're still trying to create yourself again an identity for yourself, but you don't know how to do it your own way, and you start living vicariously through whoever else you watch, other than creating your own identity. And that was
yeah,
good during that time, and that's what happened during the late '80s and early '90s. A lot of these kids, first generation youth that was out here, their parents are working 2 jobs because, they're just trying to stay up, and now they've got nothing else going on when they get home. They didn't got no I mean, we had no iPads back then, we had maybe, afternoon cartoons, but then
mhm,
you're out there just kicking in the hood, and before you know it, somebody from Cali says, "Hey, there's these things called Bloods and
yeah,
Crips,
yeah,
and there's this group called NWA, and there's this group called Ghetto Boys," and before you know it, you're flagging.
yeah. Like
So
it's crazy. You think about like there was a lot of more movies of like Menace to Society, Blood In, Blood Out. There's
mhm,
like, there's other movies like Paid in Full that told you how to get money
mhm.
real quick. Like it was like the movies were educating us. But you know what? It built me a little bit different too
Yeah, yeah.
because I don't know how it feels to not have something because I've realized nobody's gonna do it for you. So you gotta find a way, like, whenever I'm in a hard time, I always go, "I'll figure it out," and then everybody's like, "So what are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I don't know," but I figure it
Yeah,
out
yeah.
because of the area that we grew up in and just seeing other people, If I could say something about Seattle is everybody are grinders. Like, they will grind, like, the sneaker game is crazy. I don't even collect shoes anymore because the prices people are charging is crazy. I'm good. But if you ask around, there's a lot of sneaker events, and I'm just like and car clubs, That's
Mhm.
another thing. Maybe I have to educate myself to maybe I need to go reach out to more car clubs because that's popular now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's the
It
summer. It's
like, we did that collab. And
Mhm.
even just that little, like, black card, like, 2 minute, 3 minute, man, I was hella excited. I was like, "Oh, yeah,
Just
somebody in
put it
North
out.
Carolina is gonna see it because everybody knows Sabidi Fest." You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the ones I need to tap into.
Just put
That
it out.
whole, like, Southeast Asian movement is heavy, bro.
It
Just
is.
yeah, and they
There's,
got it. They learned
there's
how to work with each other. That's crazy.
that is one huge part that I don't wanna say ill in an ill-mannered type of a way with regards to
Mhm.
the Filipinos. with the Filipino community and everything like that. The Southeast Asian collective,
Mhm.
especially like leaning on the Lao Thai and the Vietnamese and Cambodian culture and the
Yeah.
Southeast Asian, it seems like it's their turn. There's this
Yep.
movement, there's this surge, and to be very honest with me, I mean, Filipinos have been doing things for a while in music and, community, the music community, R&B and everything, clothing. There's still one of the excuse me, there's a lot of ill brands that come through on my Insta. It's just like I think we've been there, but the thing that's been going on in the Southeast Asian communities, they are banding together. There's a lot of these, just right-minded people that are bringing it all together. There's it's a space that I don't want to say it's untapped, but it's a space to where there's opportunities there and values to where we can still kind of just work together and at least in your spot, there's just still the
Yeah.
retail spot.
They
There's a lot of designs that you put out there that have that type of inspiration because of, with your wife and everything like that. She's
Yeah,
got that also.
they've been one of my biggest supporters, bro. Like,
Mhm.
it's crazy. Like Laos, Thai, Cambodian, Vietnamese, like,
Yeah, bro.
you know what I'm saying? Because what's crazy is they got a voice, but they don't have a voice in a way. Like, they've been so silent for so long, and I think it's just because they went through a genocide that we're not looking in the history books, bro. Like, you could Google that. It's not that long ago, right?
Mhm.
And so my wife is like a first generation to really like set the platform. And
Mhm.
so I feel like if it's time, it's time,
Yeah.
and I embrace them. I love the fact that they're just like, nah, like we're gonna band together, share our culture, share our thoughts, our art, everything that we can do because that was
Mhm.
everything that they were stripped of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I embrace it because the thing is, like, I can go watch American Idol and know that there's gonna be at least one Filipino in that competition. I can see America's Best Dance Crew. There's gonna be a group of Filipinos in one
Yeah.
group,
Very well
but
represented.
and I feel like with Southeast Asians, it's like they're starting to get there slowly. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Mhm.
um, I've never actually like me and my wife want to travel because I've heard like what you said, Texas got a lot of minorities out there. I heard there's a lot in like Maryland. I heard there's a lot in Minnesota, like these random
Yo,
places I would
East
never
Coast.
think of. Utah.
Yo, East Coast is thick. I never knew that there
Yeah,
was like in like yeah, in Massachusetts, there's a huge
yeah,
Cambodian I think they have probably the biggest gatherings and everything. And
yeah,
like East Coast is thick, man. It's for
yeah.
like you said, Maryland, Rhode Island. I was like, yeah, how the heck did you guys end up in Rhode Island?
Yeah, like
So
my sister-in-law's from Boston and I went there
yeah,
for a wedding and we were out there and I was like, yo, the islanders and the Asian folks, they move a little bit different on the
hey,
East
hey.
Coast.
Oh, they do. Oh, they
You
do.
know?
And
So,
that's also and that's also another thing with the podcast itself, and that's what's enriching me in this whole
yeah,
thing. Being tucked away, and that's literally what it is. You're tucked away in this Pacific Northwest to where, we all know about the Seattle freeze. Not a lot of people's
mhm,
really trying to open up, and it's kind of cold shouldering until you're actually in a group or you're actually accepted. When you
yeah,
when I moved down here, bro, and one of the homeboys actually asked me recently, he's like, "Hey, why do you interview like a lot of loud people? Why is that?" And I'm like, "Cause that's community." They
yes,
opened up their door immediately to this dude. And
yep,
then they brought me in and I started learning about it. And it's just like it's such a it's I'm not trying to like I'm not trying to say bad things on how Seattle really is with regards to that particular space. I'm just telling you it's different down here and I'm learning
mhm,
so much more. And I think this pod itself allows me to actually extend more just the whole conversations through this type of a platform. Like you and I, we never really ran together, but then now
yeah,
here we are talking about roots. What's next, really? I mean, I know you've got you've got the content creation and everything.
yeah.
You're supporting wifey and that, but then like with Blackheart, is just in the near future, what are you seeing? What are the next goals here?
Honestly, my goal is being so much involved in my community that I don't wanna work anymore a 9 to 5, and I just wanna be
Mhm,
there for the youth, you know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Because the youth is the future. Like, I hate to fight it, but, like, my daughter has showed me, I was clowning on K-pop, and then one of her K-pop groups, BTS, was like, I was like, "Yeah, they're not even on MTV. They're not gonna make." They're all over, bro. So I just gotta accept change, right? But I mean, like, things that are, like, coming up, like, I just locked in Auburn. It's just like a community, like, farm not a farmer's market, but it's they're having an event for Juneteenth, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's gonna be in this big park. There's a water park on June 23rd. I know it's after, but I guess they reserved that spot. And I'm gonna have some designs that embrace Juneteenth.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's dope, and
Yeah.
one of the first things that you had said to me was that I just want people to know what's behind it, and it's just
Mhm.
every clothing brand has their story,
Yeah.
and every clothing brand also has, just each person's motivations, and your motivations obviously isn't to like you said, I don't want to be the illest, the dopest. It might be not be the nicest or anything, but I want to be that dude out there actually creating change. And also at the same time, you're gonna see my story through the designs. And
Yeah.
now as I think you're in that next phase to where it's like once your story starts being put out there, the next phase I think for you, like you had mentioned with Juneteenth, you're now going to start trying to put other inspirational designs through your eyes. And that I
Yeah.
think that's dope, man. That's dope.